Know that the work you're doing is part of a bigger movement. We're building a movement to stop this rail to jail.
They are not going to let you take our joy. We're not going to let you take our youth and lock us up without giving us the opportunity to thrive and be the type of people that we need to be.
Youth from the Bay Area stood up together, organized, and challenged the building of a 560-bed juvenile facility.
For 4 years, they've been sneaking and creeping and lying and sneaking and creeping and lying, laying the plans to build what would be the biggest per capita juvenile hall in the country. A monument to racism is what they want to build. We want to take a stand right here in the Bay Area and say the prison industrial complex, the punishment industry, the incarceration industry ends right here, no further. And this idea of building this draconian super jail to warehouse and traffic our young people will not happen. They are not going to build a super jail, period.
In Louisiana, friends and families of Louisiana's incarcerated children successfully were able to shut down Tallulah, a youth prison that was notorious for all types of abuse and violence.
Question why so many youth were being criminalized and locked up in the first place. Along with countless other new prisons, Tallulah was built during a national prison building boom throughout the United States. Throughout the 1980s, increasing poverty and failing education, healthcare, and welfare systems led to hardship and growing social problems for many communities. Many of these same communities found themselves criminalized, targeted by a new tough-on-crime political movement, and fed into a prison system with a growing appetite for more prisoners. By the 1990s, the U.S. prison population had already tripled. As this prison boom began targeting America's youth, suddenly, children whose families couldn't afford the social services that most communities take for granted had become the target of a political chess game, faced with boot camps, zero-tolerance laws, police in their schools, and prison time.
We've seen that in Santa Cruz County, where there's leadership, where there's organized community who's applying pressure. We've seen them go from an average daily population of over 170 kids in their facility on any given day to more recently having around a population of around 10 to 11 kids.
And as we are in the 21st century, the design flaws continue to reveal themselves. And the more crowded it is, the more difficult it is to manage kids there.
One of the most basic principles of child development is that drawing children into this system isn't good for them.
One kid said, he was asked, how do you think the system sees you? And he said, like a piece of garbage. And I think that comes from not listening to young people.
Just think about us, it's like you're making decisions for us, from our well-being. You don't know me, I don't know you, you don't know us, you don't know people out in the community, you don't know them. Educate yourselves. Then you can really start making those right decisions for me or for anybody else in the same struggle.
People fighting against the California Youth Authority.
The amount of violence in the California Youth Authority has been allowed to deteriorate to unprecedented levels.
Every day, nothing but violence. There's nothing else to do but violence.
I still, to this day, I sleep with my hand over my face because you have to worry about if somebody's gonna walk past and hit you in the face with a lock and a sock.
After 10 o'clock, it's only one staff member, and that staff member is confined to a station with both doors locked. Only thing they have is a radio, 75 wards, 10 o'clock lights out. I know of one guy laying in his bed, another guy over there get up in the middle of the night, crawl on the ground, staff member in there, snoozing. The dude crept on the floor, didn't get noticed, jumped on this guy's bed with a knife. You say something, I'ma stab you. You sexually assaulted the guy.
You talk to kids, they'll tell you that staff encourage them to fight back, telling them that if they don't, they're going to be victimized and we can't protect you.
You'll join those who are fighting against all types of gang legislation that is targeting blacks and Latinos and Southeast Asians for not just suppression and incarceration, but deportation and family separation, divide and conquer at its fullest.
Filipino community standing strong with all immigrant communities. Let's march.
You see that this movement is real. These people are out here all over the country, and it looks different in different places, but that's what it means to have a movement, to have, you know, a base of people standing together against such a destructive force. You'll be joining people in New York who challenge the expansion of one of their juvenile facilities.
Know what I mean?
There's a whole industry aspect to the prison industrial complex. That there's a whole profiteering aspect to prison industrial complex.
In prison, we make soap boxes, tank tops, t-shirts, jeans, jacket. I made chairs when I was in jail.
The prison industrial complex, we found, was the only industry in the United States that was not exportable, meaning that there was no way that any company here in the United States could sell our inmates to, like, let's say Guatemala, and Guatemala will accept American inmates.
You have to think of it as a huge business. What the product is here, viewed from that context, is that person in the cell. But it's like there's a whole lot that goes on before you actually get to that cell. Construction and the trucking to bring things in, jobs, all the technology that's there, the cameras, walking in, the gates, the paint, the electricity bills, the air conditioning, the food. I mean, everything there is a gigantic business.
There are models for change. This is real work that really can be done, and you can make a difference. But it's not easy, and it's not a short sprint. It's going to be a long marathon. So tie your shoes up and get ready to run.
Who has the fire? We do.
Think about those kind of questions. So when we're talking about how we can stop this incarceration, we're looking at some of the root causes.